Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur flew in last night for his first of two second interviews, and he's still in town today. Will a deal get done?
And I'll dive into why no offensive coordinator appears to want the job in Philly. Whose fault is it? Jalen, Siri, Howie, or those snowball throwing fans? Let's find out in today's episode.
You're listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Here's your host, John Clark and Tanner Riddle.
All right, guys, welcome to Birds Coast to Coast episode 3. We're rolling 2 episodes in, loving what we're doing here. We're going to get to that wonderful tease in a moment, but you know what? We got to go back to those amazing NFC and AFC championship games. Welcome again. I'm John Clark, and this is my wonderful co-host, Tanner Riddle. And I would love to start first off by talking about, I would say, Tanner, would you just want to kind of talk about the AFC championship game first, kind of go like chronologically, kind of like build up to the exciting game? I think that's fair.
Yeah.
For those who missed it, it was Broncos versus Patriots, the battle of second-year quarterbacks, Bo Nix versus Drake May. And I think it was a pretty interesting, if not boring game, I would say, for about most of it, until the snow started coming down, and then it started turning into more of a slop fest. Tanner, what were your thoughts from watching that game? I mean, other than the fact that, it really just turned into a defensive struggle for most of it.
Well, it was supposed to be a duel between 2024 first-round quarterbacks, between Bo Nix and Drake May. And I would have loved to have seen that because coming out of college, they were completely different guys. Drake May was your classic. He has all the tools. He looks the part. He's got the size, the speed, the arm strength. But he didn't really seem to have the consistency and really needed to put it together. So he was more of like a mold of clay. Whereas Bo Nix, he was your classic undersized. Really nothing stands out about him physically, but he has a ton of experience. But obviously none of that matters because Bo Nix didn't play because he got hurt on the second to last play of the prior game. So, Jarrett Stidham, I think it was the second drive of the game where they moved the ball down the field. He had that big, that one pass, I think on third down. They scored a touchdown, and I was like, ooh, like.
Oh, I remember texting. I was thinking, wait a second, this guy's looking a little falsy.
Yeah, like, oh man, like Sean Payton. Sean Payton's in his
up.
bag. He's feeling good.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, and then that was literally it for them on offense for the rest of the game. They did have that one chance on 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to say they should have kicked the field goal, but I do believe they should have kicked that field goal.
Hindsight's so tough there. What was that? Wasn't that the second quarter?
I think it was the second. It was early. It was definitely in the first half.
Game.
I think it may have been the second quarter.
You hate to make that like hindsight statement so early in the game, but you're right. I mean, that did cost them in the long run. I mean, it ended up being deciding points.
We're not weatherman, but there is something, especially with an experienced coach like Sean Payton. Shouldn't you have some kind of like weather updates or meteorologist, and you should understand, hey, look, the first half of this game, it's going to be cold, but like it's going to be manageable. In the second half of this game, it's going to be we're in a snowstorm. Like going up 10-0 before the snow. I wish Sean Payton could have seen that coming. Like
they have such a great.
Like, we knew it was going to snow. Like that was.
Yeah. It was predicted for weeks. That
we didn't know that he wouldn't convert on 4th down, but we knew about the weather, and so like when you knew you're down your quarterback with your defense, a 10-0 lead would have been huge. And 4th and 1 just isn't as simple as like, hey, I'm going to stretch the ball over and get an easy first down. Like it's tough. Like it's not a gimme. So that was hard. He's probably gonna have to think about that one for the rest of his life, honestly. Because think about it, they convert that. I mean, he could easily be a walk-in Hall of Fame coach. Like it was that big of a deal to me. Imagine if he won a Super Bowl with Jarrett Stidham. Like he would have been the first time a coach won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. You know, winning one of them being with
a backup.
Jarrett Stidham. You know, the story about New Orleans and after Hurricane Katrina, like That's a pretty good resume. I don't know if he may be a Hall of Famer, so I honestly don't know. I think
I
that's an
think I
interesting
would. I mean,
question.
I think off the top of my head, I like the. I remember Skip Bayless. I remember growing up watching him on First Take, and I think his classification of how to judge if someone's a Hall of Famer is more like gut instinct. Like there's not
If you
much
have to
thought.
think about it,
You have to
then
think
you're
about
not.
that to know. And I really don't have to think about it. I think Sean Payton. When I think of Sean Payton, I think of him as a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked too much,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there
yeah.
some breaking news about coaches, and we'll get to that soon about Hall of Fame coaches, or maybe not. Um, but I do think that Sean Payton's decision did costing him that game, and I think with the defense of the Broncos being so strong, I mean, we're talking about how great Drake May, willed his team to a victory, but I mean that wasn't by any stretch an offensive showcase from Drake May. I mean, I think he used his legs in crucial situations to pick up third downs and honestly scored that touchdown. I remember watching that touchdown where Jared Stidham fumbled, or I guess it was considered a backwards pass. That's what they kind of like, switched it to
They
at the
ruled
end.
it everything at some point.
It was
At
a
some
very
point, it
odd.
was grounding. At some point, it was
Mhm.
a pass. At one point, it was a fumble.
It looked like he was
Like,
moving his
at
arms
one point, it
forward,
was a
but the
touchdown.
ball,
Like, it was
yeah,
literally everything. It was one of the most bizarre things I've seen.
it looked like almost like a chest pass from basketball. He was just
Yeah.
kind of like trying to force the ball out, but and but somehow the ball went backwards. And I think what ended up happening was, you have that rule when like you have like a lateral and a running back is running forward and he's lateraling it back, but the ball's going forward.
Mhm.
That's like a property of physics because his body's moving forward, so the ball's going to move forward with the body, even though he's pitching it technically behind him. The ball is actually still moving forward because his body is a part of the thing that's moving forward. Don't want to get too deep into the physics, but I think what happened was the opposite for Stidham. His body was moving backwards because he was getting pushed back by the defensive lineman, and even though he kind of like chest passed it forward, the ball was going backwards because his whole body was moving backwards. So it's the opposite effect where the anti-lateral, if you will, even though it was technically a lateral. Very odd. It's one of those things where you see his arm kind of push forward. And if you just in retrospect just looked at his arms moving forward and just said, hey, look at this guy's arms, look where the ball is that a forward pass? I would say yes. But then when you take the actual field and where his body is in the field of play, it's not. So it was a very interesting ruling. And it set up
Look,
the
there's only one person that can solve this, and that's Bill Nye, the science guy.
we need him on. I mean, that's the only explanation. Bill Nye or Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I don't know. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that the Philly said that the tush push was an unstoppable play, and that was proven wrong this year on multiple occasions.
Have you
Um,
seen those memes where they ask you what seat would you want to be at or what lunch table?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And they
I'll
give you
take I'll take Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye the Science Guy
oh,
at my table.
absolutely. What legends. So the Drake May running touchdown, I kind of like, I don't know, coming as an Eagles fan, I'm sure you've noticed as a Cardinals fan, I've just noticed with running quarterbacks, when they get in like five wide spread, towards the goal,
Yes,
I'm just thinking to myself, oh,
it
that's
just
a draw.
flashes.
That's a draw. Yeah, they're going to run five routes at the 10-yard line, sure. You know what I mean? So that's going to look pretty evident. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, they're going to run that up the middle with Drake May. And he did. It was a good play call, but I really think it really set in motion the fact that they don't trust their passing offense. Like that's what they use. Like, we're going to get in the end zone with a quarterback draw. And I think that was honestly like one of the most dynamic plays Drake May had all game. He had like a couple deep shots to Mac Hollins, and that was pretty much it. And then the snow came, and the game just kind of got sloppy. I mean, field goals became impossible. Even 30 to 40-yard field goals were like not even close. And it just turned into whoever had most points when the snow fell, it was the winner. And I felt bad watching that final drive from Jared Stidham, and I saw him throw up that ball, and I had never seen Christian Gonzalez make an easier interception in his life. It looked like he was fielding a punt. And I was like,
I
oh man,
could have caught that.
like he really like Jared Stidham had no idea what to do on that final drive. He was just chucking it into the wind. Like, and I will say that's a Sean Payton problem, like you said. Like you couldn't draw up anything for your backup quarterback, a screen pass. I mean, they got R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey's a pretty dynamic young running back. They couldn't have gotten him the ball in space or anyone else, But it was really
There
frustrating to
were
see
a
how
couple
they played.
times, to be fair to Sean Payton, where I think there was a screen early on, and I think it was probably just early game jitters. It was designed to be just your, easy, quick throw. Hopefully, if it's blocked well enough, we could spring it for a first. And yeah, the throw was just a little off. So it was an incomplete pass, but you could kind of see where that play was going. It looked like he was going to spring for a good 10, 15
Mhm.
yards. Yeah, you're right. It's tough. I mean, I know you have him as a backup all year, but to come in and make your first passes of the season in the AFC Championship game,
Tough
I don't
spot
know, man.
in the
Like
blizzard,
that's
and the Patriots defense is
yeah, and you know, I know the Pats have had an easy path up to this point and haven't really had the toughest schedule, but I mean, given the schedule, they've been a pretty good defense. Um, Backup quarterback, bad weather. I don't know. Like it's kind of what I expected.
No, I think so too. It was going to be a close game, no matter what. Hey, we still hit ours. I mean, we said Broncos +7,
That's why
definitely
we
hit.
wanted the points.
Yeah, we know it was going to be always going to be a close game.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so that was a good game. Congrats, I guess, to the Patriots for going back to the Super Bowl, and just even without Tom Brady, they're just going to represent the AFC again. So
Finally, not the Chiefs, right?
yeah, I think I saw a thing where it was like the Patriots, the Chiefs, or I don't
The
know.
Bengals were right in the middle. They were the Oreo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, those two teams have been like the past Super Bowl representative for like the past like 15 years is ridiculous. But the
Yeah.
Bengals are in the middle there. I mean, I guess honestly, there's not much to be said about that game other than that. I mean, there has been some recent news out of the past couple minutes that the Broncos did fire their offensive coordinator. I don't know if you just saw that. Um,
Yes, I saw that.
yeah, that's so add that to the coaching carousel list that I'm
A
sure
little
we'll
odd.
dive
I mean,
into.
like, you're not going to fire him because of that performance. And
Why did
also,
they? Well,
isn't
I
this
think
Sean Payton's offense? Like,
Well, I have heard that, and I guess this might be going into the coaching carousel, but it's not tip 10.
oh,
Is
is
that?
this a Davis Webb thing?
Yes. See, that's what I've heard.
Oh, encourage him to
I
stay.
just did
That
some
makes
research,
sense.
and they said that Davis Webb, who's interviewing right now for, I think, the Raiders, and for the head coaching job or some sort of job, and they are almost kind of like saying, "Hey, Davis Webb, we're getting rid of our OC. You can come be the OC for us. Like, basically, please come back. Don't leave us." And I think it might work, or it might blow up in their face. So we'll see.
It's weird. You know how many times we hear guys who, I mean, they're the hot name at this point, and then next year, if they're just kind of meh or mediocre,
Bobby
guy I
Slow.
think of is that was exactly what I was gonna say. Ben Slowick. It's Ben Slowick, right? See, that's how
Bob,
bad it is.
it's Bob. It's Bobby.
um,
Bobby Slow.
yeah, like I think he was the OC for the first year of Stroud, and yeah, everything. I mean, everything was going up for him, and then not only did it not like go up, he like got fired. And so, I don't really see him getting too much. No,
Mm-mm.
he got hired with Tampa Bay. Is that right?
Yes, I do think that's where he ended up
But
landing.
like that just seems like man, like how disappointing for him, given where he was probably expecting to be at this time a couple years ago.
These
I would
coaches,
have expected him to be kind of like a Ben Johnson type, like you are identified as you're the top guy, you get to pick the best option. And now here
this
he
is
is. I
a
mean,
category, in my
yeah,
opinion. Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when Nick Sirianni was like right after 2023. I was like, are we just gonna fire him and go with Slowick? Like, is this the move? And part of me was like, wouldn't be the worst idea, because that was right off of like the Ben Johnson being so great with the Lions, and CJ Stroud's having a great rookie year. But it's very interesting how these offensive coordinators are almost in a way treated like quarterbacks, like these hot young names, and they, burn really quickly, but then almost like the quarterbacks, they get almost figured out in a way. And then they have to either adjust or they're not going to be in the next coaching cycle higher. So
Let's go
that's
ahead and make a big correction. First is Bobby Slowick, and
yeah.
he got
Bobby.
signed by the Dolphins.
Oh, Dolphins. Okay. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
Bobby Slow got signed by the Dolphins?
Or hired.
I thought he was already the Dolphins coaching
Was he
pass
not?
game
Oh
coordinator.
man.
Yeah. Yeah, he was already that's where he was currently. He was working there after the
But did
Texans.
he ever get picked up then?
I don't know, but I know that he was currently last year on the Dolphins coaching staff.
So it's even worse than we thought, and we thought it was bad.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. But before we jump too far into coaching carousel, should we go
Yeah,
ahead and cover the NFC
that's
game?
right. The
Yeah, we
fun
got.
game.
And by the way, just as a disclaimer, for those of you waiting for those wonderful Super Bowl picks that we have, stored in our back pocket, we're gonna save that for next week's pod, along with some game props and yardage totals and things like that, where we can get in the nitty gritty for cool parlays for stuff like that. But so that's gonna extend our time for coaching carousel because frankly, we don't want to give away our Super Bowl picks quite yet. But
So much
yeah,
can happen.
yeah, so much could happen. And, let's kind of jump into that NFC championship game, which was a lot more fun to watch, a lot more offense. And, I really feel like it was a statement game for our good old friend Sam Darnold, the man who we all thought would be the first quarterback from the 2019. Was it 2019? 2018? 2018.
2018.
Yeah, the 2018 quarterback class to make a Super Bowl. Yeah, it's not Lamar. It's not Josh Allen. It's not Josh Rosen.
Nope.
it's Sam Darnold. And how about that? What did you think about that game? What did you take away? You're the NFC West expert here. I'm sure you loved watching those two go at each other for 3
Well,
hours.
first, I think it's funny that the path for the Seahawks was just more divisional games. They beat the Niners the prior week. Honestly, my takeaway was I feel like we may have watched the two best teams in the NFC this year. I think they were the top of the class. Um, I think it's personally, it's like that's the exact kind of game I like to watch. I think that was fun.
Yeah,
Like other than the fact that they're divisional rivals, wouldn't have mind if it was anyone else. However, that was a fun game to watch. I can't believe how good Sam Darnold's gotten. I don't. I mean, you can't just credit every single coach that he's with. I mean, this year, oh, look how good Kubiak's been. Or last year, oh, look how good Kevin O'Connell's been. Or the year prior, he was in San Francisco. Oh, man, he got his PhD under Kyle Shanahan. At some point, he might actually be good. He was taken third in the draft for a reason.
he always had the tools.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it kind of says a lot of. Honestly, I think it says more about the Panthers than it does the Jets. And here's why. Because at
Go
least,
for it.
at least the Jets, they were still a young team. Like they were in the process of a rebuild, and
And he was young.
when they traded Darnold to the Panthers, they got a second back. It's very similar to the Josh Rosen with the Cardinals trading to the Dolphins.
Mhm.
Sure, we took him 10th overall, but we recouped a second round pick giving him back to the Dolphins. Is it better to just waste a second round pick if you're the Dolphins? Or is it worse to essentially downgrade your first round pick to a second round pick? Like, I'd rather have a second round, turn my first into a second. That's how I always viewed it.
The
And
difference with that
so,
is you guys had the first overall pick, and you could offload him and get Kyler Murray. I don't know what the Jets had as a plan.
well, the Jets' plan was Zach Wilson.
Yeah, so I don't know. I
And
mean,
so, yeah, the Panthers, I mean,
not
they
a
had
sure.
technically a more mature version of Sam Darnold, and they had both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Mhm.
And, you know, both have
Fringe
been
top
better
10, both
since.
of them. Yeah, both of them
Yeah.
are like, pretty solidly in that top 12 quarterback list, I would say. Not even really that much of a debate. Um, I
I mean,
know a lot of
they're playoff quarterbacks in my opinion.
no, they're both great.
More
Yeah, they're both
than.
really good. Yeah. And I think I'm just happy for Sam Darnold. I mean, I guess, getting I guess we could really go back into the game itself. I mean, for those of you who didn't see it, it was basically a shootout. I mean, it was, one score after another. The Seahawks kind of had control of the game for the most part. It was, they were always one score or so ahead for most of the game. The Rams would come back and make it close and maybe tie it every once in a while. But, the Seahawks kind of had their foot on the gas pedal for the majority of the game, which I appreciate. And I saw a tweet which I thought was very interesting. It was from a Panthers fan, and it was basically saying it was a crucial fourth down towards the end of the game, and the Rams didn't convert, and it really ended up costing them the game in the fourth quarter. And it was like 4th and 3 or something, and they didn't convert it. It was like an incomplete pass because they dropped, I think, 8 in coverage or 9 in coverage. And the Panthers fan, I think, tweeted something along the lines of, "See, that's the difference between a good coach and a bad coach. The Panthers just played prevent defense the entire time and let the Rams carve them up, and this other team, although they did play 8 coverage and back, they were definitely more sticky and didn't let them just get free releases, which was a big difference." So again, kudos to the Seahawks, man. And you know what? Like I thought looking back that like the running game really supported the Seahawks during that game, but they didn't. Sam Darnold like put the team on his back. Like they got like
Yeah,
2.8 yards a carry in the running game department, and I was like, oh, it was probably he's probably carried by Ken Walker. Which look, I love Ken Walker coming out. I
he
said he was
does
the next.
look awesome. He feels like he's gotten better every
He looks
year.
great. I love
He
Ken
is a free
Walker.
agent,
I said he was the next Adrian Peterson when he came out. He's not him.
and now look
But,
at you.
look, I was gonna say the way he runs, love his running style. Man, he'd be a great free agent pickup if we didn't have Saquon. Love him. But
Well,
yeah,
James
so
Conner could easily be cut. It seems like
I
Conner
know.
2.0.
But I mean, yeah, I just feel great for Sam Darnold. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a beast. It really had a lot of Eagle fans questioning over the week about they got rid of DK Metcalf, and that was a tough decision because he was a stud for Seattle for quite some time, and they didn't get what did they get back for DK? Do you recall?
Wasn't it a second?
It was a second, and a lot of people in Philly are saying like, look, we can get rid of AJ, get a second, and then Devontae Smith can be our Jackson Smith and Jigba. But let me tell you right now, I love Devontae Smith. He's not Jackson Smith and Jigba. Okay, he's just not. Now, maybe with a new offensive coordinator, you could talk me into that plan, maybe, but I don't know. I
Well, the
feel like,
contract part of it is a huge key to all this. I think
yeah, and you
DK
know
was
what?
going into his last year way more tradable.
Then
You
AJ
know,
Brown, yeah,
AJ Brown just signed his deal,
just
so
signed it. It might be a
it's just
non-starter.
unfortunately I don't think it's an apples to apples comparison.
Not exactly. But you know what? I really like the offense that they got in Seattle. Clint Kubiak's awesome. That scissors route combination from JSN in the backfield. Oh my God, that was amazing.
Right.
Oh God, seeing someone schemed up, and all this time I hear these coaches, no, the Eagles just have to execute. They just need to execute. No, well, you know what? If you have a good play, maybe a good play,
Easier
just
to execute.
yeah, maybe you just get a good play and your guys are open.
Imagine not executing on that play. He was open.
Anyone
You
could
know
have
what I
ran
mean?
that.
Yeah.
Any receiver could have ran that route and gotten open because he was schemed open. And I think that's something that a lot of teams don't have, mine included. But yeah, I mean, it came down to a couple key plays and with the Seahawks and the Rams, and I'm just glad. I really didn't want the Rams to win, honestly. Who are you rooting for?
Well, I mean, I was rooting for a tie, but since we aren't getting that, I was rooting for whatever's in the best interest of the Cardinals,
Which
which,
is
in a weird way, um, there actually could be an argument one way or the other, and that is I was rooting for the Seahawks. And that's because
okay.
I had a strong belief that I think Mike LaFleur is going to be our top target, and I was ready to get the ball rolling on that. So, you know, pretty good offensive performance. So I like to see that. No, look, let's be honest. No one's ever going to give Mike LaFleur the offensive credit for the Rams. It's always going to go to Sean McVay. I'm not naive, but you know, I mean, what the alternative is a bad performance. Like, why would you want to hire that? So, I didn't think Clint Kubiak is going to be an option here. I think he had some better options, or might have some better options. So, I'd rather get the ball rolling with Michael Floor. Start building a staff. I think that's the real key. It's one thing to get him, today, tomorrow, 2 weeks from now. It's another thing if all of his potential staff and coordinators are going to be scooped up by then. So, yeah, I was ready to get the ball rolling on that. So, to answer your question, I was rooting for the Seahawks. That way, LaFleur is ready to start whining and dining with the front office and start getting a deal done.
I mean, I agree. I was very much in the same boat because Nate Shieldhouse has kind of been a guy who's been on our kind of watch list for a little bit. And yeah, I guess kind of sneak peek into the coaching carousel. You know, the longer that this coaching search takes, the longer I'm thinking to myself, like, why is this taking so long? And part of the reason while I was watching that game was like, well, maybe we're waiting for someone to be, exiting the playoffs. Maybe that's the reason. It's not because no one likes us. Maybe we're just waiting for our perfect candidate. Now I guess that was just, and maybe that's just some cope. Like a big old like cope sandwich there. Just actually, we want Shieldhouse. That's who we're waiting for. But no, I don't know if that's the case anymore, sadly. But so I was rooting for the Seahawks because I wanted Shieldhouse to be pried open, and maybe we can gut the Rams. Maybe that'd be a good thing. But
Yes, let's all gut the Rams.
we should. I mean, I feel like the Eagles get gutted.
Let's completely gut the. We're doing a good job. Let's gut the NFC West.
We'll just gut all their.
Let's get rid of Saleh. Let's get rid of LaFleur.
Yeah. What about
get rid of
San Francisco's
Shula? Would have.
Take him.
It felt like Shula was going to get a job, but a little surprised. I don't think he is. Who's the other? Seahawks. Let's get Kubiak.
Let's get them all. Yeah, let's take them all. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much a good recap of the two games. Congrats to Seahawks. Excited for Seahawks Patriots 2.0. That'll be a fun Super Bowl. Hopefully hopefully Malcolm Butler's nowhere to be found for that game. But it'll be a fun Super Bowl, I'm sure. Hopefully, there's a lot of offense because frankly, the last time the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, that Brady Rams Super Bowl was like the most boring one I've ever watched. So hopefully there's more offense in this one. But I think that's a good ending to that recap. So let's jump into our coaching carousel, Tanner. And I think
let's go over what's happened since we last talked.
Yeah. So you go ahead and get started with your Cardinals recap because I think you guys might be closer to something than we are.
Okay. So since we last talked, I think there's been 3 head coach hirings, including today. Looks like Jesse Minter was hired by the Ravens on the 22nd. And then this weekend, this one surprised me. Mike McCarthy got hired by the Steelers. I did not see that coming. It seemed like they had a clear formula as to what they look for in a coach, and he fit none of it. But hey, good for him. Growing up a Steelers fan, I can only imagine. Like, that's got to be awesome. And then actually today, Joe Brady got hired by the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really surprised by that. Like, what's the saying? Like, I'm not surprised. I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised, or I don't know. Like,
he's a good candidate.
I think there could have been multiple options there. So good for Joe Brady. I'm excited for the Bills. It kind of makes sense. I actually want to talk about that real quick.
Okay.
I've heard people say, well, you fire the last guy and then just promote the guy underneath him. Why would you do that? It's the same thing. It doesn't feel like the same thing to me.
The defensive head coach.
If your issue, or if you diagnose this team as, hey, we have the best quarterback in the league, the offense is good, it's the defense and everything else around them that's failing, and your head coach is defensive minded, well, then it makes sense if you're like, don't touch the offense, let's keep it good. Mm-hmm. Let's find someone to fill in the gaps being on the defensive side. Well, I think it's fair to say the only way to keep Joe Brady is by promoting him. He could have been off an offer here in Arizona. He could have been offered somewhere like Vegas or somewhere else. Like, I think he was a somewhat attractive guy. And so, yeah, I think there was a world where he was never going to come back as the OC. So, yeah, that to me, that was the best way to keep the stability on offense, and then work backwards in filling your defensive side, which I also think is easier to fill, and it's easier than having to replace an offensive coordinator every other year or so. So I think it made sense. I'd be excited if I was a Bills fan.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted him as an offensive coordinator here in Philly, so it'd be really.
I wanted him as a head coach. I would have taken him.
To say like, "Oh, bad hire," but I wanted him. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm not going to try to be a hypocrite there, but yeah. I mean, a lot of Bills fans seem to be quite upset about this, based on I think more so of the optics and how things were handled, more so than the actual candidate's like resume and his profile as the head coach.
Talking about the press conference last week.
Yeah, I think that's why they're more upset, is just how like, they handled the McDermott situation. And since they're kind of still, sticking their hand back in the pot of the current coaching staff, they just see it as something that's like a hypocritical move. But
So
I
like
mean,
if last week didn't happen, you think it'd be less barking at this move?
yeah. I just think how they handled it is rubbing the Bills fans the wrong way. I mean, there was like a petition I think I saw. It was I don't know how the heck it got on NFL.com, but it really shouldn't have. But it said like there's a petition with 40,000 signatures telling to get the Bills to get Sean McDermott his job back. And I always laugh at those because it's like, what are the
I
Bills going
love
to
it.
do? Like, what are the Bills going to do? Like, oh my God,
We just
40,000
messed up.
signatures. Sean, we made a mistake. We don't want this to happen. We made a mistake. I'm so sorry. There's 40,000 people who couldn't even fill our stadium, by the way. We're we're gonna come. We're gonna bring you back. That's not how it works. And I just love it how that
Yeah.
was on NFL.com. It's like, okay, all right, why are you saying this? But yeah, they're just upset for that reason. Good hire by the Bills. The offense for the Bills, honestly, they just need I hate to say this because they just had one with Diggs, but they need an alpha receiver, and I don't think, I mean, like Joe Brady has a history of working with alpha receivers. He probably had one of the most stacked offenses in like, college football history with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson on the same team. So he can absolutely utilize a good receiver. He doesn't have to just run bubble screen after bubble screen to Khalil Shakir. I think he really just molded his offense to fit what the players were more than like, that's what he runs, and I like that as a coach, fit your scheme around what the players are available to. You don't want to run Shakir down like the sideline or, run, little bubble screens to Gabe Davis. You want to maximize what your players can do. And I think that's just what the Bills had this year. So maybe they go out and target an alpha receiver, AJ Brown, and maybe we can make some things happen, which is a little different, because I know at the end of the year, like the Bills became super run heavy, and you're probably sitting there thinking, well, Josh Allen, why are we doing that? But I think there's a method to his madness. It reduces the crazy plays that Josh Allen could make in terms of mistakes. And I think it leads to more efficient football. So he's a great hire. Like I said, I really wanted him as the Eagles' offensive coordinator. So can't really be too upset. You said that the Jesse Minter hire for Baltimore. I really like that one as well.
I like
He
that one. It made
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, really,
I
really
mean,
fits
it just
the city,
fits like a
really fits
glove.
the team. Great defense. He's just been skyrocketing at every level. From college to
I love his
pros.
connection with the Harbaugh family just overall. He's worked for both of them.
I think that's pretty cool, and you have to imagine that was like a big thing.
Chargers, the
You're gonna
Ravens, and
you're gonna.
Michigan. Like, you think he goes to Thanksgiving with them? Like, may as well at this point.
Well, I don't know. He took John's job, but might be a little awkward. But but yeah. But I think that's gonna be a great hire. I don't know if he's gonna be just like the CEO type, and I really do think that sometimes the defensive coaches tend to be more of the CEO types, just because it's like I don't know, it's not
Which is
splash.
interesting to me.
Yeah. So that's very. I think that's a good hire.
Sirianni seems to be the one offensive-minded guy who turned into a CEO type.
Yeah. 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 There's a reason for that. His offense kind of not so great, but but they love him. They love him. They'll keep him around because he's a good leader of men, I guess. But no, I
So
do
we go
love.
ahead and kind of fill in some of the coordinator roles that have been filled this last week. So DC wise, Cowboys hired Eagles DB's coach Christian Parker,
Yes.
their
Oh
DC.
yeah. Christian
Yeah.
Parker. He's been great. Oh my, I love. I honestly kind of worried about losing him. He's been a godsend to our young rookie
Does
corner.
he get to bring Quinion and Cooper DeJean?
No, but Reed Blankenship is a free agent, and N'Kobe Dean are. So I think that's a concern for
So
me.
Reed Blankenship to Dallas confirmed. Got it.
I would not be shocked.
Yeah. The Packers. Tell me if this name rings a bell. Jonathan Gannon. That's an
Our
interesting one.
boy,
Yeah.
our boy.
Yeah. I would assume there's actually a good thing about that, and that is it might offset some of the salary that we would owe him
Listen,
going
it's
forward.
good news for Micah Parsons. What was it, Achilles or ACL?
I think it
ACL.
was ACL.
Good news for Micah Parsons' ACL. He won't be rushing forward as much as he'll be dropping back in coverage as an edge rusher. And you can ask Hassan
Right.
Reddick that. He'll give you firsthand knowledge of what Jonathan Gannon loves to do with his edge rushers. So yeah, he'll be loving
I
playing
love
position.
making my players play left-handed. That's
Love it.
always,
You know what? It'll be great.
you don't just confuse your opponent, you confuse yourself.
Hey, we're gonna have systems in place that are, easy for us to learn, but hard for the opponents to learn as well and know. So, that's a little bit of Sirianni knowledge for those who know what I'm talking about.
Then the last one, DC wise, we got Durante Jones. I believe he came from Minnesota under Brian Flores.
Okay,
Went to the Washington Commanders.
cool.
Then we got a little bit more action on the offensive side. We got 4 openings. We got the Buccaneers. They hired Zach Robinson
Good.
from the Falcons. We got, and it was kind of weird for a while, but the Titans did end up hiring Brian Dable. Per
Killed.
their Twitter account, they did say they have a new OC, so that seems about as official as it's going to get. The Chargers, we actually broke this one on live on the air last week with Mike McDaniel. Okay, I went back and I looked it up. It did look like the Dolphins promoted Bobby Slowick to OC.
Mm.
So I think we were both right and wrong. He was in Miami, but he wasn't the OC. He got promoted. I think Halfley promoted him to OC. And then the last one, we got the New York Giants. I think they were hiring Todd Monken. I think I saw something, though, and it seems to be a lot of contingencies in this cycle. Giants will hire OC Todd Monken, assuming he doesn't get a head coaching job. So I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job. So, we'll keep that, we'll keep an eye on that one.
Dude,
But,
can I just stop you for a second? We picked a hell of a year to do this pod because these coaching vacancies are making my head spin. This has never been. There's no way it's been like this.
contingency stuff, man.
There's
Like,
no way it's been like
sure,
this.
I see why you'd want to do that if you're a candidate, but if you're like a head coach or a GM or owner, whoever, don't you kind of want to know once you got a guy like if you're the Chargers, once you get Mike McDaniel in, like I'm ready to go. Like I don't want to know I don't want to sit there for 2 weeks wondering if he actually is my candidate or not.
These offensive coordinator hires are feeling like free agent hires in terms of the way we're being reported by them. And, like the Chargers posted a whole thing, a whole tweet, a video of Mike McDaniels, joining them and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if this is like the intensification of all NFL media and it's just getting more and more intense every single year and every little small thing is becoming the biggest thing ever because that's how the NFL works. Like even small things become like spectacles. Is this what is the next spectacle? Just coaching hires? Because my Twitter feed is blowing up with he's going there, but like you said, a contingency. He might get the head coaching job. Oh, Brian Dable's trying to be the Bills coach, but he might go to Tennessee if he doesn't get it. And it's very, very hard to keep up with all this stuff. We're doing our best, guys, to keep up with all this because it's a lot. It's a lot. And how many coaches? How many vacancies are left, Tanner, for OC off the top of your head? Do you have that available right now?
So I know some of the teams who haven't hired a head coach, are gonna
Yes.
probably hire guys. And so, okay, let's take out the Browns, the Raiders, the Cardinals. Those are the 3 head coaching vacancies.
Yeah.
Only one I really have though is the Eagles.
Oh,
I see
really?
everyone else's Buccaneers, Dolphins,
Wait,
Lions,
would the Bills
Titans,
count?
Chargers.
Would the Bills probably count?
Yeah, if you want to count the Bills, I think I did see that he was gonna continue to call plays, Joe Brady. So, I mean, you can still fill an OC even if you don't call plays. That's fair. But yeah, of the non-head coaching vacancies, where I think we're looking for a play caller, I think I just have the Eagles.
Is that a good segue to jump into my my
I think
tease?
that's a very good segue.
Great, because I've been waiting to talk about this. Guys, let me tell you. We hired Kevin Patullo about a week after the Super Bowl. I was very, very disappointed. I wanted them to look elsewhere. But in post Super Bowl hysteria, I was like, whatever, great. Yeah, sure, it's going to be good. We can't mess this up. We have a great offense. And we all saw what happened this year. After 2023, we all wanted Brian Johnson gone because his offense was completely devoid of the middle of the field. He literally did not access any middle of the field routes. And no, it's not because Jalen can't throw in the middle of the field. I'm sick of people saying that. There's stats that prove that he's actually pretty good at it. We were able to hire Kellen Moore about, a week and a half after that, and actually, no, it was 4 days. I remember looking it up. It was 4 days after that firing. We are, I believe, moving into our second full week of not having an offensive coordinator. And there are many theories about as to why this is happening. One of them being we're not an attractive job. The other that a lot of people are, kind of coming up with are that Howie and Jeffrey are trying to gather intel, talk to as many young coaches as they can across the league and figure out what went wrong with our offense before making a decision. I don't know if I buy into that because, quite frankly, like if that were the case, why wouldn't they have picked someone by now? Like, yeah, intel gathering's great, but all these dudes leave and then go somewhere else and go get hired. So I don't know if that's really like, yeah, of course we're gathering information. That's just part of an interview process. You're going to pick the guy's brain and figure out exactly what he knows and how you can apply it to your situation. But if you like him, why aren't you offering him and why aren't they taking the job? And that leads us down to a couple reasons. We can start chopping it down into reasons. One, are they not loving the organizational setup with Howie Roseman? Two, do they not want to work with Nick Sirianni? Three, do they not want to work with Jalen Hurts? Or four, and this is probably the flimsiest one, are they scared of the fans throwing eggs at his house like Kevin Patullo got this year? And if you go through each one, you talk about Howie. I think there's a strong case to make that Howie Roseman, if you look at his executive committee that he has, it's a very successful branch. These football executives end up going to higher ranking front office roles. He's really great at kind of producing talent that goes off and leads front offices elsewhere. And as much as you want to discredit the organization for being too quick to fire Kevin Patullo or Brian Johnson, they also have a great track record of getting offensive coordinators head coaching jobs, getting any coordinators head coaching jobs. Jonathan Gannon, head coach, didn't work out, but a head coach. Frank Reich went to Indianapolis after the Super Bowl. Shane Steichen went to Indianapolis after a Super Bowl. Kellen Moore went to New Orleans Saints after a Super Bowl. I believe there's a trend here. If you succeed in Philadelphia, you end up propelling your career into head coaching stardom. It might not work where you go, but you get the opportunity. And for people saying, well, if he sucks, they're going to get fired after 1 year. I'm sorry. You know what? If you are just putrid, which I think Kevin Patullo was, I think a lot of people are starting to say, oh, maybe he was a scapegoat. No, he was not. Go watch some film. Go look at those games. Think about how those games made you feel. It was not an average scapegoat situation. He was a poor play caller, a poor play designer. It was evident that he needed to go, and I am happy that I am a fan of an organization that will make the decision quickly rather than sit on someone who's clearly not cut out for the job. I think they did the same thing with Carson Wentz. They did the same thing with Doug Peterson after they realized he wasn't going to really cut it after even winning a Super Bowl. We do not take what we believe to be less than, the standard, play or output. And we get rid of them. Now, if he had an okay year, would he be here? Sure. Shane Steichen stayed after 2021. We were like, 9-8, got bounced in the first round. We didn't fire him. We kept him. It was a good year. It was fine. He made a midseason adjustment and became a running team, and we won like 5 straight games and made the playoffs. That's what Patullo didn't do. He didn't adjust mid-year and make a change to give them something to hold on to. Say, you know what? You did something and you improved, and there's something we see in you that you can improve on moving into next year. It just wasn't there. So he's not, I don't think that's a reason. Jalen is another reason that people are saying. They're saying that, Mike McDaniels went to LA because of Justin Herbert. Brian Daboll is going to Tennessee because of Cam Ward. Those quarterbacks are moldable. They're coachable. They're more talented than Jalen Hurts. Therefore, we don't have the quarterback, and no offensive coordinator wants to work with Jalen for XYZ. I don't know if that's really even true. Jalen Hurts has had a different offensive coordinator every single year of his career. And for the majority of his career, he's been pretty successful. I mean, he wins a lot. And I don't know why a coach would rather, you know, pick a team that they're probably going to win like what? Maybe 6 or 7 games in Tennessee, maybe 500, rather than being on, Fox every Sunday at 4 o'clock, being nationally televised, having a chance to show what you can do with a quarterback who's pretty mobile, an offense that has stars. I don't get it. I don't get that argument. What do you think about that, Tanner? I'll do the second half after that, after your kind of opinion. What do you think of those first
That was
two?
just the first half?
Oh
Oh.
yeah. Oh, trust me. I'm sorry. This is
Um,
I'm passionate about this, man. I'm really sick and tired of waiting.
well, you listed your 4 things of why the job might be undesirable. One of them that stood out to me was you asked about, like, do coaches not want to work with Sirianni? Now, I understand there may be some, harsh criticism over Siri. However, did I read a report that, and this could just be, theory or, whatever, that the Eagles are willing to give the offensive coordinator full reins of the entire offense?
Correct, to a point. The
Well, what's
point
the
being,
point?
there are
Like,
guys in
if the point is like play calling, then like
no, no,
that's
no,
kind
no,
of a
no,
big one.
no, 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 no. Play calling will absolutely be within their realm. I believe that to
Mm.
be the case. The issue is the coaching structure. There are some names who, if you give someone full autonomy, the idea is that you can basically pick your staff.
What are they
However,
gonna do? Replace Stout? Like, honestly, I wouldn't even be interested. Wait, you're giving me a look.
that's
You
what I'm
said,
saying. That's why I said to a point. So we're not. I think there are some coaches like Stout, who's the run game coordinator and offensive line coach. He kind of dual wields that. And I think there's a chance that that's the one thing that they won't give the new coach, because he's been around since Chip Kelly. He ain't going anywhere.
yeah, but who
So,
would want to get rid of him?
well, that who knows? If you have an offensive coordinator who runs like a zone blocking scheme, and Jeff Stoutland doesn't run that, maybe he'll be like, "Well, I don't know if I want to match what my running game is for this guy." Maybe they're turned off by that. Who knows what's going on in those interviews? Although I see what you're saying. I don't want him if he doesn't want to work with Stout. Like, you can't figure something out. I don't get it. But no, you're right. The Siri thing is huge. He will have full autonomy.
Am I allowed to just kind of brush that concern off? It just doesn't seem like a concern to me. Like,
Fine. I don't think
to
it is
me,
either.
that
I
is
think yeah.
like, if we're gonna believe that you're gonna have 99% full reins of all offense, that's a plus to me. That's not a negative. That makes
Mm-hmm.
Sirianni a person I want to coach with. So, yeah, I don't really buy that one. Jalen Hurts, I mean, I feel like you know what you get with him. There's clearly talent there. Maybe not the traditional, quarterback talent, but I think as a coordinator, you kind of want to know what you got and then work around it. Sure, maybe he doesn't like pre-snap motion as much as some other quarterbacks, but I don't know. I still feel like there's something to work with there. That
He
wouldn't
won
be
a
a
Super
total
Bowl.
turnoff.
He won a Super
You mentioned,
Bowl.
yeah, I know, right? We're literally like this time
We
last year we're going to the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah, we're discussing this guy like he's like a second year project quarterback. It's really like turning my stomach the way I
yeah.
hear him being discussed.
What was the first one? Do you talk about Howie? Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be an issue. Like, kind of under the Sirianni thing. Like, I'm gonna trust Howie's gonna get me good players. Like, I don't know. That seems like a plus to me.
I guess the
For the
idea is
last
like, do you
one,
worry about getting fired? Like I guess the issue is like, do you want to go somewhere where if you don't perform, you get fired after?
yeah. I
That's a
mean,
big.
obviously, like we joke about the getting your house egged and stuff. I don't know. I'd rather risk getting my house egged because it's probably going to be an apartment or a rental anyways, than pass on an opportunity to be a head coach given the history. So
So I guess
I
my
don't know. I
question
kind
is,
of feel like you gave a lot of bad reasons. Like, I don't like
well,
them.
no, Tanner. Here's the funny thing about this is, okay, like, no, I think they're bad reasons too, which is why I find it very interesting as to why people are saying them. I'm just repeating what people are saying nationally and
There's
what I'm
really
hearing.
one main thing for me that makes the job unattractive, and it might feel very familiar, but I think I think guys like this can have a negative impact on a team. It's the AJ Brown thing, man. Like
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I
Interesting.
if I'm under the impression that that contract's not tradable without taking a huge hit, kind of like a Russell Wilson type cut, that's a big deal, man. Like
You think they're
that's
going
a
into the
good
interview
chunk of
basically
the
asking?
as
Yeah.
Jerry Jones would say, that's a good chunk of the pie that you're playing with one hand behind your back when you have to play with a salary cap here when everyone
Yeah.
else is here. And so, or the alternative is you keep him and he could possibly just be a problem.
Disgruntled. Yeah.
But I don't know. Like you look at some of the openings. You want to go to Cleveland? You don't want. You want to go to Arizona. There are much less desirable jobs. There was actually quite a bit of good job. Like these were some of the opening. I think the Buccaneers job was a good opening. I think the Lions job's a good opening. I guess it depends how you feel about Cam Ward. Thought the
Mhm.
Titans was a good opening. The Chargers was a good opening. The Commanders was a good opening. I guess it depends how you feel about Jackson Dart. That could be a good opening in with the Giants. The Raiders, that could be a good job depending on how you feel with uh, Fernando Mendoza, and you're going to have Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. Like that's a good start. There's actually a lot of good openings, but still, like I would throw the Eagles in there as well.
You know
Yeah,
what I
I
find?
mean,
What I find
I don't know.
interesting
I
too.
feel like I'm trying to make an argument that I don't believe.
I
I
get it.
do think it's overall it's a desirable job. That would be the one thing though that would make me hesitate. And
You
honestly,
know.
I don't think that was one of the four that seems to be talked about as much.
I wonder because I remember when Doug Peterson was the head coach and he called plays. He was your typical head coach, offensive play caller. Okay. And I remember the trends of the airwaves at that time were because we were looking for offensive coordinators back then too, because Steichen because Frank Reich left, and after that we really could never find a guy that was really good, and a lot of the reasons that were brought up then were funny because they're almost the opposite of what they are now. Today we hear, "Oh my God, they're gonna have so much autonomy and they're gonna get fired if it doesn't work out." Meh. Whereas back then it was, why would the Eagles? They were saying, "Oh, this is a very unattractive job because Doug Peterson calls the plays." And therefore, why would a young hotshot quarterbacks coach or whatever want to come to a team where he wouldn't be able to call plays and almost audition his abilities to be a play caller that would get him set up for a head coaching job elsewhere, if that makes sense. You're almost buried under the head coach, not being able to call plays and therefore not being able to show other teams what you're capable of. So a lot of people thought that's why we didn't think we had a good thing here in Philly in the later Doug Peterson years. And I just find it funny that we're also finding fault with the opposite situation now. Like, oh, too much. What if he sucks and we fire him? No one wants to come here. So it just sounds like people are just not psyched on this team, and they'll just figure out a way to make it sound like we suck. And that's just how things are. I think if I'm going to make a prediction at this point, because I know it's been a while since, I think last week we did our top five or top whatever list, because a lot of those guys are gone. Like they're all gone. Dable's gone, McDaniel's gone, Brady's gone. The only guy that's left is Shieldhouse, and I just don't see it happening. I think at this point we're either going to go with a nobody like a Sean Mannion, who just got the second interview today, recent quarterback, first year coach in the NFL, not too much experience, played under a lot of good systems like McVay and Ben Johnson, and he has a lot of experience in playing in those systems, but not so much coaching. Or we're gonna get with a guy like Matt Nagy, who retread, kind of know what you get, that type of guy. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of just really disgruntled about this whole situation. I just wanted to be like, just pick someone at this point. But yeah, it's really frustrating. And I think your AJ Brown thing's really on point. I mean, there's a good chance they go into these interviews saying, "What's your plan with AJ Brown?" And they go, "Well, we're gonna do this." And then they go, "Ugh, I don't know about that. Maybe I don't want to do it." And I guess to close, I heard from, I believe, Ross Tucker. He was kind of saying, like, because people were saying that these guys interview with the Eagles and they withdraw their name. And I think this is an interesting point. He said that people are using that verbiage, withdrawing, because they hear that they're not going to get the job. So instead of saying like, "Oh, I'm not getting the job, they don't want me," I'm just going to say I'm withdrawing my name because I have a feeling I'm not going to get the job. And it sounds better on a resume to say I withdrew my name than I didn't get the job. So I think that's pretty interesting. A little bit of optics there. What do you think about that theory that people like just say I withdrew my name instead of saying I just didn't get the job? That sounds pretty interesting to me. How they kind of
I'm
wrote
not
that.
saying you're wrong. I just think it's silly.
It does sound silly.
Yeah. Because at the end of
Um,
the day, like, I remember when Bruce Arians parted ways. Technically, it was a mutual parting, but there was a lot of smoke to, BA, we really appreciate what you've done. It's the best 5-year run in team history, but we're looking to go in a different direction, and we'd really like to just not fire you. Like,
oh, it's all
we wanted to,
it's all
yeah. And so I mean, I remember. So yeah, I don't. It doesn't fool me.
no.
It
So
is a
go,
little. If we want to kind of segue into the Cardinals,
yeah,
it's
man.
an
What you
interesting
got?
segue. So what about an hour or two ago, we saw that uh, Jacksonville Jaguars defense coordinator Anthony Campanelli and their offensive coordinator as well, Udinski. They're both going to be returning to Jacksonville. So I think they're pretty lucky to have two guys who had head coaching opportunities both return. I'd be pretty excited
Oh,
if I were them.
would have loved that.
But to me, what that tells me from an Arizona perspective is, did he get the word that we're not going to be, because he was one of the 3 finalists for this job reportedly. And so was that word of, hey, like, rather than saying you didn't get the job, you just, you know what, I think it's best for my career if I just stay in Jacksonville. So it's a lot of smoke right now that Mike LaFleur is going to be the guy. Um, given how this job looks from an attractive standpoint, pretty excited about it.
Oh, I bet.
I figured he came in last night for a dinner. They likely went to a nice steakhouse. Probably did a little bit of an interview last night. He's still in town today for an interview. I don't know. I didn't hear anyone else get dinner invites. It feels like it's a matter of when, not if here. So I know it's risky, but I think it might make some sense. Let's go over the pros and cons of Mike LaFleur. So the first pro I have is that he's offensive minded. It's a pretty broad one because I guess he can only be either offense or defense. Well, I guess you could be a special teams guy, but let's be honest. There's only one John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I've made it clear how I feel about having an offensive minded guy. Just from a ideological standpoint, I would prefer an offensive guy. It's harder to replace an offensive coordinator, in my opinion, than a defensive coordinator. And so if you have an offensive minded coach, you don't have to recycle that every year. There's no concern if you actually do look good that you have to get a new guy every 2 years or so. Just as importantly, he's got 12 years of experience, and they're all pretty much with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. I'm not sure what other 2 coaches you'd rather be surrounded by than those guys, other than maybe Andy Reid. I don't know. Like, we play in the NFC West. You got to play the other 3 teams 6 times a year. You got to play those other 2 teams 4 times a year. I think it's important to have history in this division, because you want to be able not just to replicate it, but you want to have someone with insight as far as, okay, like in the game plans for those 2 teams. Not only do they go over like what's going to work, do you not think they probably go over with, well, here are our weak spots? So I might be overvaluing that a little too much, but I don't. I think having somebody with experience in the division is going to be important, given that these might be 3 of the top 10 teams in the league. You had 3 of the final 4 in the conference. You had the 2 finalists in the conference. I think someone with experience in the division is going to be important.
Mm.
His most recent experience has been the last couple of years with the Rams and Sean McVay. Here are some of the non-play calling offensive coordinators that Sean McVay's had, because I think that's probably the number one thing is he didn't call plays. It's a Sean McVay offense.
Okay.
Matt LaFleur, Liam Cohen, Kevin O'Connell.
Ooh.
None of them called plays in LA, but they've all had some good success.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
that's interesting because they all share the same title as Nate Shieldhouse, and I watched a quick little Twitter
Game
video.
coordinator.
What was that?
Was it pass game coordinator?
Yes, but their job was like I guess they called them in the system or in the organization they were called like drawers because like they actually like draw the play.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, so like there was like a quick little like diagram that showed like, oh, this person gave it off to this person who gave it off to this person, and those are the exact people you just listed. So it's interesting
Yeah.
that now he's like the next person in line, and I just think the Rams system, you got to get a piece of that Rams pie. I'm really excited.
That's how I feel.
Got to get a
I
piece of it.
mean, yeah, and nothing's a given. But shoot, I'm playing the odds game here.
Yeah.
Seems to be working in multiple other places. Um, the other pro, and I'm pretty high on too, is that he actually might be able to bring on Raheem Morris as a defensive coordinator. Given
Ooh.
that he's only 38 years old, he doesn't have much experience overall. I mean, everyone wants to pair your young offensive minded
Yeah.
coach with a veteran defensive coordinator. Fortunately, there's not always a Wade Phillips out there or a Vic Fangio who's got a lot of good history. That's not really a threat to get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
That won't just stay with the Eagles because he wants to go watch some Phil's baseball games. Um,
Pitches and catches in a
Raheem
couple
Morris,
weeks.
he's got two different stints as a head coach. He's actually got some experience in LA. I believe he was the defensive coordinator for their Super Bowl. So I don't think their cross technically passed, but they still both have that LA connection, and I think it's a good connection. So good experience. Um, and then overall, just the last pro I have is he just has connections with both San Francisco and LA. And actually, his most recent experience has been with LA, but he actually has a lot more experience with the Shanahan tree. He used to be in Atlanta. I think he had a little bit of time in Cleveland with Shanahan, time in San Francisco with Shanahan. Um, and what that it's and so it kind of goes back to the Raheem Morris thing. You still got to build a staff, and I think a staff is so important. If you got connections, maybe you can, bring some of those connections along with you. I don't know how many. I'm not saying you're going to completely poach the entire coaching staff because a lot of guys want to just do the natural upward movement, but there's still probably going to be some connections that you have from both those organizations, and those are the two that I would want to try to replicate as best as possible. Some of the cons, though, or some of the concerns, I guess, there's no great experience with direct play calling. The only play calling experience he has is with the New York Jets, and that didn't really go too well. He actually got fired by the Jets as the OC under Saleh. It wasn't the best version though of the. I mean, there's not really great versions of the Jets, but like he didn't really have much to work with. That was the Zach Wilson years, so I don't know. I mean, do we really want to bang him too much for that? Yeah, I don't know.
You can take
Is this
anything
just
from the Jets as like what they are as a coach or a player. It's so hard to
I
judge
know.
them.
Yeah, I mean, look at Salah. He came back for 1 year and then boom, he got swooped up. He was one of the hottest candidates this year. I don't think your Jets experience is going to necessarily eliminate you from, having interest. Um, I've heard this. Is this going to be a Cliff Vance Joseph 2.0? Assuming that you bring Raheem Morris along with you. I mean, the profile is very similar. You pair a young offensive minded coach with no
Yeah.
NFL coaching experience, along with a defensive coordinator who has head coaching experience. I mean, it seems very similar.
Yeah.
Um, I will say though, I know I have that as a con. I don't know. Those days weren't as bad though as what they are now. So even if they were Cliff and VJ 2.0, that would be an improvement. So it's not those years weren't all bad. It just cratered really hard at the end. Um, and so I think that's going to be hard for people to get that taste out of their mouth. Um, it's a con. I know I added it as a pro, but like if he can't pull guys from the San Francisco LA tree, then who would you pull from? One of the unique things with the Cliff Vance Joseph thing was they were actually paired together by Steve Keim. That it's not like they had zero connection to each other whatsoever. And so would we be doing that again if he can't? I mean, if he can't get any connections from his prior experience, then I mean, he's only 38. I know he's got a brother, but like,
Hey,
is he
bro,
really gonna?
can I get your offensive line?
Yeah, right. I don't know if they're gonna share like a Jesse Minter type, like the
Yeah,
Harbaugh brothers do. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And then the last one, just general experience. He doesn't just have like 12 years of like OC experience or coaching experience. He has like 12 total years. So he's definitely very raw. I guess that means that like upside could be high, but it's just going to be really important, I think, to pair him with a lot of experience everywhere else. Overall, he would be my top choice. Given the state of where this team is, we have no direct path to a quarterback right now. We likely won't get that quarterback until next year, so I think that's probably the number one thing against this job is that, and so I just don't think we were in the John Harbaugh sweepstakes. I don't think we're in the Stefanski sweepstakes. So, given where we were, I mean, I would be very excited about this. I like I like the potential, and if it doesn't work, then I guess we'll be back here in another couple years. So, um, I mean, do you have any thoughts on Mike LaFleur and what you know uh, about? I mean, he was probably overshadowed a lot given where he came from with Shanahan and McVay. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, is what I'll say. When the Eagles hired Doug Peterson, a lot of people kind of did the same kind of thing. Like, well,
Mm-hmm.
he was under Andy Reid, he didn't call plays. Or people were kind of figuring out what the heck his job responsibilities were even about. Like they were saying, oh, Doug Peterson was involved in 2 minute drill preparation or timeout utilization or something like that. So, we were fishing for trying to figure out what the heck Doug Peterson did when we hired him. Same thing with Nick Sirianni. Like what was his responsibilities in a Frank Reich called offense? And even going back to Andy Reid, I know this is kind of crazy, but like Andy Reid was the quarterback's coach for Mike Holmgren, and even he didn't call plays. So like, there's no real rhyme or reason to have crazy doubt for guys who haven't called plays, especially if you kind of like trust the organization that he's coming from. I mean, you pluck Andy Reid from a very stellar, Packers organization with Brett Favre. You pluck Doug Peterson from the Andy Reid tree. It just keeps recycling. So I really feel like it's not so much about necessarily if he can call plays, but you kind of have to trust the kind of the cloth that they're cut from, the organization that they're cut from. And I think the Rams are a great cloth to cut from. I mean, I want Shieldhouse for a reason, and you want LaFleur for a reason. They come from a tree, the McVay tree, which is growing and looks to be taking root in a lot of places in the NFL. So I don't see any reason at all why you should doubt that hire. I'd be very stoked if I was a Cardinals fan and he was the guy. That system seems to be spreading quickly, and I think it'll really help players on the offense. Assuming players like Marvin Harrison Jr. Players like Trey Benson when he comes back, and I really like how the offense is geared in Arizona with the players they have, and I think with the right offensive scheme they can really make some noise. I mean, look at Trey McBride's there, and I didn't even mention Trey McBride immediately because I know he's a stud who's going to show out no matter what coach is there. So I mean, I'm thinking of the players that can be elevated by a McVay system, and I think those are the kind of the players I listed. So I wouldn't be too put off by the fact he didn't call plays. I think being around that Ram system, he's he's going to have every opportunity to kind of digest the good and the bad and make it work for Arizona. And I'm very interested to see what if he is hired, how he incorporates Trey McBride because I don't see McVay as like a big funnel it to the tight end guy. But
They have a tight end by committee, which is interesting.
yeah. So would that worry you? Like I know it's like kind of projecting if that's the case. Would that worry you
No,
about
I actually
McBride?
like all the tight ends that the Rams have. I do think they're kind of a some of their parts are pretty
Okay.
strong. Um, yeah, yeah, I mean, because the offenses tend to be geared more towards a lot of receiver production, right? With
Mhm.
Puka and whether it's Cooper Cup or Devontae
Devontae
Freeman, or
Adams.
not Devontae Freeman, Devontae
Adams.
Adams. Wow, Devontae Freeman, that was a
What
pull.
a pull.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they always have good, running back production. Um, yeah, so like, from a production standpoint, you don't really look at the Rams and be like, that's where the ball always goes. But I mean, they always seem to be somewhat, productive and like as a group. So no, I mean, look, I'm sure if the Rams had Trey McBride, he'd still be putting up 100 catches a year. So I'm sure they'd figure out a way.
Why did Trey McBride fall to the second round? Why did Zach Ertz fall to the second
You
round?
know what's funny is I remember that year, McBride was kind of like the unanimous top tight end that year, but like the grades overall weren't really that high. And we had Zach Ertz that year, and so I definitely was not looking at tight end that year. But whew, that was a nice parting gift from Steve Keim. I'll say that he owed us.
It's so funny because that's how I felt when we had drafted Zach Ertz because we had Brent Selleck and I think he had a career year that year and I was like Brent Selleck's like a B minus B plus type tight end. I'm fine with it. And then we take Zach Ertz and I'm like, interesting pick.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. But yeah, so I really like what we chatted about. I hope next week when we do this pod, we got some more clarification. We can dive into our new hires because quite frankly, waiting out this carousel is getting dizzy. It's going too fast.
I've
There's
been refreshing social media. You
it's
probably see me
insane.
looking back forth every 2 seconds, but yeah, I'm waiting for that one announcement from Schefter, Rappaport, Pelissero, Garifola, any of these guys, like someone.
It's insane. So, you ready to wrap up with the extra point?
Let's do it.
The extra point. Gotta love that. I just listen, guys. I'm really loving the soundboard, and this is we're gonna keep rolling with these things. It's great. Okay, so my extra point, completely off the wall. I was thinking about it. We were recovering from the ice storm here in North Carolina, and actually we have some more snow on the forecast for Saturday too. I don't know if we're going to get a little bit more this time, but I've actually had a snow day. Haven't had to teach in 3 days, and so it's been fun not having to go into work. But my not final thought, my extra point is that I think we as a society, and for people who still go into grocery stores, I don't think we appreciate the apps that let us find like exactly where the item is in the aisles that we need to go find them. I think that addition, every time I walk into a Walmart, I pop on that Walmart app and I just need to go find something. It tells me exactly where I need to go. And
I know exactly what feature you're talking about.
I use that almost every time I go into a Walmart, and I think it's something that has been a great addition to just my like shopping experience. And I don't know, it just feels weird talking about it, but like I don't know, I feel like I use it now, and I'm like, wait a second, like this wasn't something I had, and I just can just say, oh, I need to go find like rolled oats or something. Oh, where the heck are rolled oats going to be? I don't know. It doesn't show up on the top little card where it says rolled oats. I don't know what the heck rolled oats are, so I'm going to go pop it in. It says, oh, A7. Boom, walk right there. So I think that's my extra point. I think we really underappreciate those apps that let you find, what's where they're at in the
I
stores.
spent 5 years at a grocery store, so I just kind of, whether I wanted to or not, learned where everything was.
Got that stuff memorized.
You
My
wouldn't
God,
believe how many people always have to ask for batteries. Like that was the number one thing that people would ask about. I still
really?
remember the grocery aisle 6 back left. Like that's exact. Like everyone asked about where the batteries are.
Why
Which,
do you
by the
think
way,
batteries?
aisle
Oh,
six,
I would
aisle
never
six
come
was
up
the
with
baking
batteries.
aisle. That's why no one could find it.
That's so crazy that batteries were the most like requested item. I have no idea. Like, I guess there's no
Well,
electronics section. Like, I don't know. I guess that makes
like I
sense.
said, like like it's in the baking. Why would anyone look in the baking aisle?
Hmm. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Why would that be there? What about yours?
Well, from my extra point, I heard someone talking about this. I kind of wanted to steal it from them. Their hot take was they think that sauce should always be added on the side of every sandwich
Hmm.
because how in the world does the cook know how much sauce you want? Whether it's like a signature sauce, whether it's like ketchup, mustard, mayo, ranch, whatever. And the response was kind of like, well, what's the problem if they just put it on there on their own? And the feedback was, well, I mean, chefs ask you like how you want your meat cooked.
That's a good
Why
point.
why would they not ask about the sauce as well? Like how much sauce you want? You ever get a burger or chicken sandwich or something, and they have like a signature sauce.
Yeah.
Well, like, what if it's spicy? Like, what if you want a lot of spicy? What if you want just a little bit of touch to it? So I don't know. Maybe not the hottest of takes, no pun intended, but like I like the idea of whenever you order something, they need to ask you how much sauce do you want? Like, do you want the sauce, and how much of it do you want?
No,
Rather than just
honestly, like,
assuming.
for those who know, me and Tanner went to East Carolina together, and we would frequent Moe's Southwest Grill. And trust me, if they were a sponsor, we would absolutely run an ad for them. But we may have, there's one right there. But I kind of see where you're coming from, because when you go to like burrito places, right? Like you say, "Oh, I want some sour cream," and they go, and then you're like, you always feel like a little awkward, like, "Can I get a little more?" And then I'm like, a little bit more. Then you start just feeling gross about yourself. So like, I agree. They should ask you like, "Hey, how much do you want?" Instead of just giving you like one little line, and it's like, yeah, that'll cover the whole thing. At Subway too, they do the same thing. It's like they give you, "Oh, can I have some mayo?" One little line of mayo. It's like, "Oh, great, yeah, that'll cover the whole sandwich." Like that. I don't
What
get
if
it.
we had, how they have like salsa bars at some places where
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just put it out and you just help yourself and you get as much as you want of it?
Oh, for sure. Oh,
Is it
yeah.
the worst thing in the world if they had like sauce bars? Mhm.
No, I agree. And you know what? Even places where like Thai restaurants, like they start asking you, like, when I get like pad Thai or curry or something like that, they'll be like, "Oh, like your sauce, do you want it like spicy, extra spicy?" Or they'll give you levels like that, which I thought was interesting, because you just said like they should let you know with like the house sauce, like what it's like or whatever. And I see a lot of restaurants are now saying like, "What kind of spice level do you want?" I think that's cool. Hey, like I don't want to get like blitzkrieged with like some sort of like burning hell spawn on my tongue, but I also, if I want to go a little bit spicier, maybe I want that. So that's a good extra.
More customization. That's the main takeaway from this.
Yes, more customization, and don't make us feel like, like little sad boys for wanting a little extra Chipotle sauce. I
Yeah,
want
don't
some.
go cheap on the sauce, forcing me to ask for more.
I know, I don't want that. All right, Tanner. Well, thank you so much for listening for this episode of Birds Coast to Coast. Next week, I really hope that we can talk about some hires for the Cardinals and Eagles, because quite frankly, my head. What did Captain America say in the End Game? I don't know what I'll do if I can't, or something like that. When he said something about Thanos, I don't know what I'll do if it doesn't. Remember that line at the end?
Oh,
Oh,
because he doesn't have. Yeah, I know what you're talking. Oh, shoot, what was
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I botched that. But anyway, next
Oh,
week,
yes, I know.
do you remember the line? What was the line? I don't know what I'll
You
do
talking
if
about
I.
like your fail? He's like, you guys couldn't live with your failures, and where did that lead you? Back to me?
No, no.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
probably I'll show it. I'll show it to you post production. But next week, we're going to talk about our Super Bowl picks. We really didn't cover too much about the actual Super Bowl game, but we're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about some potential parlay game prop picks, yardage totals, really small levels type stuff. Maybe we'll cook up a parlay for that. And maybe we'll talk about the Cardinals and Eagles hire. But thank you so much for joining us on Birds Coast to Coast.